Hi, Gemini. Welcome to your November 2020 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, as the month begins, you're in a very business-like kind of a mode because the sun is in the sixth house in Scorpio. You're all about organizing. Is this how it is every year with you? For me, it's in September that I get into this vibe. And I think it's because when I was a kid, we'd go back to school after Labor Day in September, in early September, during the time of Virgo. Virgo is a ruler of the sixth house. It's not my sixth house, but it's still, I have the moon in Virgo, and it just kind of gets into that kind of a vibe. For you, the sun is in Virgo's house, in the sign of Scorpio. And so you may feel this urge to kind of organize your life. And you're going to have a new moon here, and that can certainly assist in new beginnings. This is also the house of health. So you might be getting some health regimen going on this month. And also the house of pets. I don't know if you're going to get a new pet mid-month, but your daily routine, a new job, or some developments with the current job, maybe a promotion or something. Now, Mercury retrograded in this house, and Mercury is your ruler. So there is some, connection here. This may have led you rethinking your job, or maybe you thought, I think I'm going to go into business for myself. You researched it, are coming to some decision early in the month, because Mercury goes direct on the 3rd of the month in the 5th house at 25 degrees of Libra, your sister air sign. So you may be, deciding what to do about that. If you are going to start a business, then you realize that you have to make some decision about your day job. Do you keep it, until you can get going? Who knows? But there's some kind of a connection between the 5th and 6th houses for you. Now, if you have any kind of a romance with somebody that has a work connection, that could certainly be coming up as well. A coworker, unless it's a boss. Because Mercury retrograde can also bring people from the past into your present reality. So if you had an affair with a coworker and maybe they got shipped somewhere else, they may come back into the picture somehow, and you decide whether or not you're going to continue an affair. While all of this is going on, Mars is still retrograde until the middle of the month in Aries, which is a friendly aspect to Gemini and is actually the 11th house of hopes and wishes, friends, group associations. Now, Mars is a very aggressive energy. It's ambitious, but it can be aggressive. And so it's kind of, it's the ruler of both Aries and Scorpio. So enough said, about those two signs. There's a ferocity with both of them. And it's kind of like if they don't watch it, they can turn people off because they have that tendency sometimes to, push things too hard or just kind of come on too strong. So Mars is also the god of war, so it can indicate some kind of conflict arising in whatever house it's in. And in this case, in the 11th house, it can be in the area of friendship. So if you've had some kind of a conflict with a friend that may have been internalized, like you were angry with them, but you didn't directly express yourself, you may have been very frustrated by this and felt like you wanted to clear the air, but for some reason you avoided it. And sometimes, I don't know if this, I'm assuming this would apply to Mars retrograde, because also with certain Mars placements, there can be this, when when somebody has what would be a weakened Mars in their natal chart, they can revert to sarcasm, passive aggression, things like where they're not directly expressing their anger towards another person, or in this case, it can be multiple people. And certainly, Gemini is a very sarcastic sign, so this may be your MO when you're trying to convey your displeasure about something with people around you is sarcasm. And yet you have to realize that it's not an effective means of, getting your point across. And it can cause more problems than it can pretend to solve. So basically, what I would say is that like I said, this could be a group situation as well. And you may feel this sense of frustration because you're no longer in alignment with the group. So, an example would be if you're a political activist, or as I call them, social justice warrior. And, they're going in a different direction. And you don't like the direction, but you still, like what they stood for or what you thought they stood for. So there might be some conflict there. And even with friendships, if you feel that you are growing spiritually and, you do have a lot of energy in the 8th house, which is a metaphysical house. You have Saturn going back there. You have Jupiter. Jupiter is very philosophical and, expanding this area for you. Of metaphysics. You have Pluto, which can be introducing you to healing modalities that are connected with the 8th house, including, dare I say, sex magic. I bet you didn't think I was going to say that, did you? So, anyway, Pluto is also the ruler of that house, so that kind of heightens that influence in that direction. So Mercury goes back into Scorpio on the 10th, a week after it goes direct. And so at that point, it is in the 6th house again. Perhaps you are directly communicating with the workplace, and that might have some developments in terms of your job status, or maybe you're talking to other work offices or work spaces. This can also be if you had any kind of misunderstandings with coworkers, that you clear the air, everything becomes understood, or some kind of salary negotiation, who knows? You're thinking about things, maybe thinking about, I would even say for health matters, physical activity, because the 5th house, where you've maybe been researching, can be about sports, and maybe that's some way that you enjoy getting fit, is through competitive sports and things like that. And actually, one thing I wanted to say also about Mars in the 11th house is that it doesn't have to be conflict. It can just be being very active, and maybe it is with some kind of a team sports. I don't know how many of you this would relate to, but just I should have said something like that, where there's a competitive angle to it, because Mars is very competitive. On the 13th, Mars stations direct at 15 degrees of Aries in that 11th house, so things are moving forward. And from this point on, I've already done a tarot reading on this, so please check my channel. I believe I've done one for Gemini already, if I'm not mistaken, because I've done most of them. And it was called a green light portal from mid-November through the end of January of 2021, which is about this period of time when all the inner planets are direct. So there's a green light in new ventures. And it's important to state, as always, that what feels right for you may contradict what the transits represent. And I never would tell people, oh, don't do something until there's a green light portal. Do something when you feel like it's right for you, if you're trusting your intuition. This is just for people that don't have any set times in mind and would love some kind of guidance of, when the stars are aligned, when there's more likelihood for things to manifest in a positive way or a cooperative way. There's no guarantees, there's no guarantees that anything is going to work because you do it on a certain date. You have to put that energy into it yourself. On the 15th, new moon, 23 degrees of Scorpio, in that very practical 6th house, new beginnings, health, work, and pets. And what else? Just when I say daily routine, it seems kind of weird, and maybe you work 9 to 5 and you're like saying, I don't have a daily routine. I go to work every day. I can't change this schedule. But you do have the hours before you begin work, and you have the after hours. If you come home at 5:30 and you flop in front of the TV until 9:30 and maybe fall asleep, and you haven't and maybe make dinner, there are different ways you can utilize that time. Maybe you go to bed too late. I'm sure a lot of Geminis do. And you could go to bed earlier and wake up earlier when everyone else is asleep, and really take advantage of that time for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish that is beyond that 9 to 5 existence. So it's just about new ways of looking at the time that we have, because we do have certain hours within the day. We don't have 26 hours a day. But time is really an illusion, and the more that we, there are some people that, they really know how to manage their time very well. I'm not one of those people. So I'm not speaking, I have Neptune in the 6th house, so that's, that'll tell you something about me. But I always hold out hope that I can, if I don't have this naturally, that I can get there, and that's an example of how you do that is by harnessing the astrological transits for your benefit, when they will assist you and make it easier for you to enact. And this is a new moon, so it's like new beginnings are much more in that realm of possibility. So on the 21st, Venus goes into this house. So this is a big house for you. Venus can bring cha-ching, money, moolah, in that house of work. So it could be a boost to your finances. It could be love in the workplace. It could be harmony with coworkers, if that has been a little bit challenged, if there was some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe now you're just like lovey-dovey. On the same day, the sun goes into Sag, which is the opposite house, 7th house of committed partnership. So the 7th house is also the house of legal affairs. So this may be featured for some of you, and other types of partnerships besides, marriages, but maybe one-on-one clients, your one-on-one relationships with people, perhaps with friendships. If you've had any kind of conflicts, you have made up your mind that you're going to see your friends individually. And this is one of those things that I have noticed as somebody who likes to observe group dynamics and that sort of thing, is that sometimes people do change when they are in a group. And you may say, I want to keep these friendships, but I'm going to, for the time being, deal with people individually. On the 28th, Neptune turns direct at 22 degrees of Pisces. And I was noting in another video that 22 is a master number, like 11, like 33. And 22 is a higher octave, I think you would describe it as, of the number 4. So it's the master builder number. And Neptune is a energy of dissolution. So it's about dissolving. It's not about building. And so it can be very challenging to try to look for something concrete from a Neptune transit through a house. But there are things that happen. Even though Neptune is an outer planet and we don't usually focus on its retrograding, its being direct, we look at the house that it's in and we can see personal influences. Now, this is the point in the reading where I have to say that this is a general reading for Gemini Sun and Gemini Rising. Whether, these transits are falling in the houses that I'm mentioning will depend upon your particular chart. And everybody is going to have different degrees of Sun and Rising, and everyone has an individual chart. So it might not be falling in that house that I'm talking about, which is the 4th house in the first place. But if it is, because this is a mutable sign, Pisces, so it is in its... I'm sorry, I said 4th, I meant 10th house. I'm glad I caught myself. It's an angular house, and the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses are considered angular houses, and this means that they are very important areas of life. But when I was learning about this, I said, well, wait a second. The 2nd house is important. That's the money that we earn in our possessions. How could you say that? But anyway, the 10th house is the house of career. And with Neptune has been here, I believe, since 2011. So in recent months, since Neptune turned retrograde, Pisces, Gemini, now I'm really confusing you, right? You may have felt a bit at sea or lost when it comes to career matters. You may have thought for sure you were supposed to do X, and now you're attracted to Y. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's a spiritual component to what it is, because again, you've had Pluto in that 8th house for 12 years now. And again, this is going to depend on each of you individually, whether you've had it that long. But you've had it there. And that has already given you that metaphysical influence, and that maybe that deeper understanding of your own psychology, your shadow side, which you may not like to delve in, but you've had to in one way or the other. And Neptune is the planet. It can be a healer, the ruler of Pisces. It can be very creative, so it might be some artistic influence, but something along those lines, otherworldly, and or intuitive. And but it can lead to, because this could be your sense of identity in the world, and you may feel like you don't know who you are anymore. And sometimes this can be like a midlife crisis. You know, if you're old enough to be in your midlife, where you were very involved in a certain career path, and maybe some kind of an event took place that shook everything up and made you think about your choices. And I always like to hear about people that take that incident, or those incidents that really kind of broke them in half or broke them open, and they actually change their course in life, because there are so many different reactions to something like that. Some people just, drink, too much, or escape in some other way. And actually, Neptune is a planet of escapism and addiction. But this is the 10th house, so it's not so much that you would be doing that in your personal life, as I feel like more the identity crisis. And while Neptune has been retrograding for the last several months, this may become even more acutely apparent to you, because Neptune retrograde can pull back that curtain and make you aware of some of the things. When it's direct, it may make you more idealistic about your career matters. And you might think, yeah, I can swing this, I can do this. I can become a Reiki master, but then you doubt yourself. And so it's just a very interesting thing. So now that Neptune is direct, you may feel more hopeful in the sense of, believing that your dreams can happen. On the 30th, there's a lunar eclipse in your sign at 8 degrees of Gemini. And I could have started this reading, mentioning that, because that should be like a major highlight. I just didn't, think about it at the time, but I'm telling you now. And so what kind of things are you letting go from your conscious self or your life as a whole? Maybe there are developments that are happening that are beyond your control. And if you go with the flow, you can really ride the wave of change. I think a lot of you are capable of changing, because you are so flexible, and you can kind of conform to whatever it is that you're presented with. If you have Gemini rising, you may have had to do this in many different ways. Maybe, moving around a lot, and having the kind of different changes in scenery and different homes that might imply. And so you had to always kind of adopt the mentality of a vagabond or something like that. So, very interesting. Okay, well, that's what I have for you. I hope that resonated. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.